Why didn't we choose to do this show 5 years ago when I had hair, by the way?
Oh shit.
To be honest, I just read an article in New Scientist that said they have now found a protein that can make your hair regrow. Would you regrow it?
I want to be super clear. If I could regrow my hair, not only would I grow my hair back, but I would grow a long, flowing mane. And I would perpetually have someone with me at all times that had a quiet blow dryer that just kind of, yeah, because I would,
can see it,
because
Freddie,
every
I can
business
see it.
meeting I'd want to be like, I wouldn't just look at you because I'm big into eye contact, but I would want to kind of just,
Do you
gently
think you could do the head
wave
shake?
I just gently wave my head, because you know why? This is the key to making great deals. It's distraction. You're like, look, I've got a goal, I'm trying to close the deal, but they don't know what's going on. They're looking over here at my beautiful hair.
Freddie, tell me what the hell you're up to at the moment.
Oh man, I always hate it when people ask me that. So as an entrepreneur, I've got my fingers in a lot of different things. But my main thing these days is called Chameleon Collective. And Chameleon Collective is a firm that works with CEOs, investors, a lot of private equity firms. And we basically provide leadership, both in the firm of consulting and drop-in leaders that we can put into the company. We help turn around firms. We have a whole team of kind of executional experts we can drop in to support those leaders. And our kind of secret sauce is that we have 5 recruiters. And so basically we'll come in, help turn these companies around. And then I kind of always joke with my clients, for a guy who's supposed to be pretty smart, well, we try and get ourselves fired every 6 months to a year. And we actually use our recruiters to find replacements for all our people, drop them into these companies, and then we move on.
But it brings up an interesting question, something you mentioned. You do many things, right? And over the years, I'm the same. I joke that if I'm being facetious, I'm the jack of all trades, the master of none, right? Because I love trying to solve big problems, and I can't. I want to do many things, but a lot of investors, a lot of people that put money into companies hate that. They and the person that's done that very successfully, the couple of people, is obviously Richard Branson and Elon Musk, and I can't understand why there's this aversion. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that there are different types of entrepreneurs, and I was actually thinking about this last night. I feel like when an investor looks at an entrepreneur, I think a lot of times they're actually wanting to see some of themselves in them.
Yeah.
And so you always have this sense like, I'm going to give this person some money.
Investors are boring.
I got to be honest, they're pretty single-minded, single-focused individuals. I think they look for that same kind of educational background they have, and I think when you find these unconventional entrepreneurs, it's not always obvious to them because they don't know how to measure them. And then when you see these kind of entrepreneurs like a Richard Branson, who's demonstrated they're capable of this kind of multitasking, and actually I would argue with them. And it pains me to even acknowledge a certain gentleman in the White House right now, but being able to take...
Who's that
yeah, don't even get me going.
The British love him, don't they?
Yeah, everyone's favorite. But I think, getting a brand that you can apply across a lot of companies can be impressive. And that by the way, it doesn't always have to be a name. It can be a style of entrepreneurship that you apply.
Yeah. But do you think there is such thing as spreading yourself too thin?
I do. But I think that comes with having great people under you.
Yeah.
And I was feeding back to one of our clients recently about a leader, and I think that it's important to have leaders that how do I say it? Don't have egos. So one quality I don't like in very senior people is this need that they have to be the alpha.
Yeah.
And it's good to be, really true leaders are the alpha without ever having to push that down onto people.
Yeah.
And I feel when you see people like that get threatened by other strong folks around them, actually it hurts the company, because what you do is you don't attract good people. Really, really good people aren't going to work in an environment where they're pushed down. Damn you, helicopter! I was saying something smart! Story of my life.
Anyway, where was I? So,
Don't get too angry.
don't get too angry.
You get turn green?
Yeah, I do, yeah. So,
Yes,
but
British people are very,
I'm half American. My
Sad.
mother's from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'm half Brit and half redneck. I can't help it. So, but
That
anyway,
makes so much more sense now.
it does make a lot of sense, doesn't it?
If only I'd known, I'd treated you a bit differently.
So the point I'm trying to make though is that, great people won't go work for a leader that makes them not be able to express themselves either thoughtfully or demonstrate their own leadership capabilities. And what you end up with is maybe one person who is maybe not a great leader but could be very, very competent, and then you end up with kind of, I don't want to say B-list people, but not as good as they could be. And that's just not a great leadership trait.
One of the things that I've always believed in and learned through my many years in business is that people are everything, right? And I describe my business as a family, because it really is. Everyone in there is part of that family, and you're all trying to build something together. And I think I had an aspect of that kind of overbearing alpha when I was trying to prove myself.
But
when I
that's
was
part
a
of
young
learning.
kid,
I had a
right?
chip. You and I, one of the things that Ben and I both share is we were both very young entrepreneurs. I mean, I started my first company when I was basically 19. I think you were right there.
15.
And you got to.
I had no life.
Yeah,
no girlfriend.
Yeah, and you became a millionaire much faster than I did, for the record.
And I also lost it.
Fair enough. Been there, and so I think there's something to be said about when you're a young entrepreneur, you always feel like everyone's kind of looking at you like you don't know anything, and then I certainly know I overcompensated for it sometimes, and that was just part of growing up as maturing as a professional and as an entrepreneur. But I'm glad I had that experience, because I'm now very cognizant of seeing that when I look at other entrepreneurs. You were talking about the family aspect earlier, and my second business that I like to ever talk about, for the record, I think there may have been some in between, but it was called iChameleon, or iChameleon Group, and it was an agency. And in 4 years of that company, from 2004 to 2008, we had 73 people when we sold. Only one person ever left the company willingly.
Wow.
And so we used to kind of half jokingly, people would be like, they're like, it's like a family. We're like, a little bit like a cult, but it's okay.
Family
It's a
cult,
family cult, it's a blurry line.
Yeah.
People were very happy, that's all we knew.
No, it's got to be, and I think for anybody who's thinking about starting their own business, I think do consider the people you work with the most important parts of that puzzle, because you can almost solve any problem with enough brains, but it's really a team that's going to get you to where you want to. It's not just execution. It's the team that executes that's key.
How many great people do you think a startup has to have? An early stage startup, can one leader be enough to anchor an entire business around, do you think?
Yeah,
or do you think
I actually do.
if they're the right person?
If they're the right person,
Okay.
a single person, I think, can be that leader. I think to get what I would say critical mass of an actual business
Have to have an
that's
incredible
flowing,
team. Yeah.
it's got to be at least 7 or 8 people.
I agree.
And there's actually I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's actually a beautiful diagram. It's kind of like a spiral diagram, and I'm not going to quote these numbers exactly because I've forgotten what they are, but they say that there's a massive culture change, I think, at 5 to 6 people, then it goes up to 30, then it goes up to 100, and then I think it's like 1,000. And it's kind of this exponential culture change, and through each one of those phases, you have to be really careful about the culture you install into your company, because it will flow through to the next layer, as it were.
That 90-100 mark I always feel like that's the spot where you stop knowing everyone in the office really well, and so that's always that kind of big break there. I think that 5 to 6 is important, because that's that stage when all of a sudden, even as the CEO, you have to relinquish little chunks of the business to people, so trust becomes really big. And
trust is huge. That's one of my big things when I sit people down. I'm like, you can totally screw up, you can totally fuck up, but tell me about it, because if you don't, I'm going to lose trust in you. And once you've lost trust in somebody, it's impossible to get it back. And another thing where I'm actually quite controversial is that you can't change people. And I've tried, I've employed thousands of people, and I've tried every technique, and I can get them back on track for about 3 to 4 months, but I found that people always go back to their old ways. So these days, one of the things that I've learned as an entrepreneur is cut dead wood early. You have to.
I feel like there's these inherent things that I'll try and look for inside people that I agree that is not fixable. But as long as I think when I believe the person really wants to change, then there's certain people in my career that I've seen that were, and other people just didn't see it. They were really rough. Maybe they had some inherent talent. I like people that you can see there's some kind of, they've got the drive. The drive is huge. That you can tell they want it.
Yeah.
And if they want it, you can really guide them because they're going, hey, I really want to get to this point. I don't know how.
Yeah.
So tell me how. But it's those people where they think they're doing it right.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and then you're like, this isn't going to happen.
I totally agree with you,
Yeah.
because I will make big bets on people that most people look past. That's different. That's different for me. What I'm talking about is a person that comes into the organization and their productivity tails off after 3 to 6 months. I've never found a way to get that consistently back up. I can do it for 3 to 4 months and then just go back to the old ways. But I agree, I'm a great believer in people. In fact, there's a beautiful story that I did put a Craigslist ad in for just
Wait, hold on. You're still talking about work stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Craigslist gets a little weird sometimes.
I use it for many
I think
reasons.
they're
they're
banning
cracking
some.
down
They're
on
banning
that.
some sites lately. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make
Talking
sure. I
of
was
which,
like,
you heard
we're
about
still
the-
recording
you
this. I want to make sure.
You heard about the back pages
Yeah,
guy, right?
sick. That was-
He got 5 years.
Wow.
And he is, he basically did a deal with the feds, and
Crazy.
I can't remember the exact number. I think he laundered $400 million in basically prostitution ads.
Wow.
And,
That's crazy.
So the feds are definitely paying attention, and I think a lot of that was crypto.
So tell me about your much less salacious Craigslist efforts versus Backpage efforts.
So I just needed an odd job guy, and I employed him for a few months to do some odd jobs, yada yada. And I got to know the guy, young guy, like 20 years old. Anyway, he's just screwing in stuff and concreting. So I get to know him. I'm like, what are you up to? He's like, I'm a PhD physics student.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, oh shit, indeed. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Doing odd jobs. And he's like, oh well, I need to make some extra money.
Gotta make some money, yeah.
And so within 3 months, I trained him up, and he's now CEO of one of my companies.
That's amazing.
Right? Just like that. And he's actually one of the best people I've worked with for a long time. He's like super sharp. He works like 80 hours a week. Like he's a machine.
I love people that put the hustle on, man. That's the best quality. So I think, there's an endless amount of subjects I think we could talk to around people. Maybe we should save a future episode about talking about how to get rid of people in the right way.
That's hard, and that's actually something I'm not that good at.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk about the legal side of it. I think there's laws that are applicable whether you're in Europe or in even individual states in the US.
Don't get me started. Yeah,
but I think what I'd like to talk about is the right way to do it culturally.
Yeah.
And the right way to do it where there's a lot of mutual respect.
Yeah.
And I think in a startup, when it's a family, and if you want to maintain that culture, there's a special way to do it, and we should save that for a future episode.
Sounds good.
Cool. I think that's a wrap.
Boom.
Boom.